today's topic is a very important topic because we are being scared into a lot of different things by different people, by different entities, and it seems like things keep on escalating. So basically, the topic of today's program is how to keep hope alive, how to make sure that we don't get affected by what is happening outside, and by always having this strength, this wisdom to keep positive and to, most importantly, be hopeful.
Getting hard, huh?
Yes.
Getting harder by the day.
Certainly is.
First of all, before you look at the news, look at your own life. Look at your own life. What are you seeing? It may be a tiny picture of what's going on in the world, but what's going on in your life should be significant. And if things in your life are looking good, then life is good. You don't have to believe everything you hear on the news. Secondly, knowing that you can't believe what's on the news, why are you letting it upset you? So like some famous man once said, half of what you read in the news is not true, the other half is false. So, I think the best idea is stop listening to the news, because you're listening to find out what's going on, and they're not telling you what's going on. They're telling you what they think is going on, or worse even, what they would like to think is going on. So don't even bother with the news. From everything I've seen on this last trip in England and Israel, I know there was a terrible tragedy over Shabbos, and there's a lot of very strong opinions on both sides of the aisle politically. But again, you can't believe the reports. You just can't believe them. From listening to the news here, you could think that Tel Aviv is falling apart and the streets are blocked with protesters. I was there for a week. I didn't see any of it. So, yes, there are some very strong opinions about the new politics and the new government. But, nothing new with that. It's a little upsetting how they talk to each other in the Knesset. But that's how they've been doing it for 70 years. So it works a little bit. But things are going to get better.
I think the big panic right now that it's either being created or it is real. It's really hard to tell these days, unfortunately. But the nuclear scare is what's pretty much on people's minds, and this is something that a lot of the countries out there are telling their citizens that this is something we should be worried about, and it seems like there are certain actions being taken towards World War III, or at least this is how it appears. And I think that this is the scariest thing that is happening in the world today. Whether it's going to happen or not, whether it's real or not, it's hard to tell, but there is certainly a lot of information and a lot of talk about that.
And only about that, which makes me a little suspicious. So I can't believe all that. Sure, you can dig out in every country, you can find the anti-Semitic or anti-Zionist opinion. So what? So what? We've got a good thing going, and I just hope people don't compromise and don't give in to the pressure, because there's always been pressure. Hopefully this is a stronger government, a determined government, and they'll make it better. Somebody in Israel asked me, now, what's going to happen now with this new government? The only thing I could think of is it's not going to be worse than it was till today. So I don't know what everybody's panicking about. It's an exaggeration that they're trying to undo the Supreme Court. That's total exaggeration. That it's a threat to democracy, complete exaggeration. Whatever democracy Israel really has. But if the news is upsetting you, it's an old joke. The guy said, I read in the newspapers that if you smoke, you get cancer. It's very upsetting. He said, what are you going to do about it? He said, I'm going to stop reading newspapers. If that helps, go right ahead. Stop reading newspapers and listening to the news, because it's all poison. It's all poison. Look around in your own life and see what the reality is. They can scare you every day and every night with global warming, with climate change. Don't even think about it. Look at the life around you and see, is it getting better or not? I think most people look around their lives and it's getting better. Why is that not reported? Actually, there was an article in the New York Times. The New York Times, where nothing is fit to print. In the New York Times, there was an article by a Kimmelman writer. What was his first name? I forget. Kimmelman. Anyway, he wrote a very beautiful article, which is not easy for the New York Times to run a beautiful article. It was about the football player who had a heart attack on the field. And people were praying for him. People were hoping that. And then when the news, here's what he writes. When the story first broke, the media was busy screaming about the violence of the game. Too much violence in sports, in football, and in boxing. But then the news came that he had survived and that he actually spoke and sent a message. So the writer says, all of a sudden, all the media went to focusing on the outpouring of love and prayer and compassion and how beautiful that is. And it goes a very long article about how things used to be and this never happened before. But now the players came on the field carrying banners saying, pray for him. Pray for him. Prayer, that thing that is not allowed in public schools. All of a sudden, the world is praying for him. Not just Americans and not just football fans. So he ends the article by quoting someone who said or asked, why can't we always be like this? And the answer to his question is, we are always like this. You just never report it. Now, we didn't all become tzaddikim overnight because of a football game. This is how we really are. Only this time, it was caught on camera. So now, you can't deny it. But we are this way. We are this way. We believe in prayer. The country does. The citizens believe in prayer. And we do have compassion. And we love to hear good news that somebody we don't know at all and probably will never meet. But we heard that he survived the heart attack Everyone is grateful. Everyone is happy for him. Everyone is praying for him. That's what we are. Not according to the New York Times. Not according to CNN. But that's really who we are.
See, Rabbi Friedman, this is what happens when you go away for too long. We get nervous. we forget what the focus should be on, and Rabbi Friedman. But this is who we are. Even if we look at the Torah portion of today, how did the Jewish people react when they were faced with a terrible situation, with this, when they get scared? What do? Do we fight? Do we pray? Do we run away? Do we turn back? I mean, and this is exactly where we are right now. We don't know what's happening in the world. We can't really see. Okay, we do see that the sea is splitting. We do see that we're going into a new dimension, into a new reality, into a new world. But at the same time, how do we react? How do we react to, just, because we just see things around us, and what's out there is still kind of a little scary, and it's an unknown territory. So how do we parallel everything in our lives right now? How do we focus on the right things? How do we not lose sight? What do we do? Fight, pray, run.
Look around yourself, not around the world. Don't try to take in the whole world. If you take all the pain all over the world, there's a whole lot of pain. Way too much. But we can't digest the entire world every day. Look around what's going on in your world and judge from there, not the other way around. Don't decide my life is bad because I heard the news of what's going on in other countries. Your life is your barometer. If things are going well, if things are going good in your life, then life is good. Of course, Mashiach is not here. So it's not like all problems have been solved. But, the analogy, somebody goes into a surgical arena. There's surgery going on. And he's never been there before. He doesn't know what it is. All he sees is that there's a victim tied down and a bunch of people with masks and sharp objects are cutting him and bleeding him, and it looks horrendous. Call the police. But imagine that he decides that that's what life in this country is all about. People being cut to pieces by gangs with masks on. You can't take a snapshot and decide what's going on in the world. So these pictures that they show, these articles, these headlines, it's not correct because it's so one-sided. There's never any good news. I picked up a magazine, The Doctor's Office, this morning. I haven't read a magazine in a long time. They report that this politician is bad and this party is wrong and this is... And the impression that I came away with, I think for the first time, if you're criticizing, if you're saying this is bad, this is wrong, then I come to the conclusion nothing is going your way. Nothing you think should happen is happening. I'm very sad for you. So instead of panicking about all the bad news, so all these writers of this magazine, doesn't anything go your way that you can approve of? Everything is bad? Well, you must be on the wrong side of the issue.
Rabbi Friedman, but we kind of rely on what's going on in the world, in the economic world and the political world, and we kind of plan our life and according to it, try to be pragmatic, invest a certain way because of how the economy is kind of leading us, and try to sort of like fit into the society and live in according to the beat of where we are, and if we don't
And you
listen
take
to
an umbrella because the weatherman said.
yeah.
I think they're just about reliable enough to carry an umbrella, but nothing more than that. Nothing more serious than an umbrella. Look, it used to be when we were growing up, the news was the news. There was some bias, of course, nobody's perfect, but there was an attempt at just bringing the news. Now there is no attempt. In fact, there's no interest. Nobody who is reporting the news cares about the news. It's a single-minded agenda, and that's all there is. So yeah, it used to be a good source of information. It helped us form our opinion of what's going on. But today, you can't rely on it. So don't. Take an umbrella if you want to be careful, but that's about it.
Robert Friedman, is the world getting smarter? I mean, realistically, because we're saying that we're kind of like done with our old ways. And yet 2 weeks ago, Beyonce does a concert for $24 million in Dubai, and it's a mega show and everybody's raving about it. And are we still in that phase where this is what impresses us rather than the 3 years that we've been going through pandemic and reassessment and reevaluation and maybe, getting our moral compass a little bit better aligned? Or are we still back where we were?
Well, we still haven't found a new form of entertainment or escapism. And it's very tempting to escape from what's going on in the world with all its confusion and all its falsehoods and so on. So you go for an hour and you make believe that you're coming back to reality after the show. So I can't blame people for wanting a little escape in the entertainment world. But does anybody go there thinking this is going to make the world better? I doubt it. So I see more reason to be hopeful because the hopeful is real and all the bad news is not true. None of it. None of it. So how much longer can the lie be maintained? It's been already 3 administrations have come and gone. So it is hard. I understand and I see it, but all the more reason to be positive. Because what's a negative attitude going to do for you? Nothing, except make you more depressed. And then you start to believe the news, and then you get very depressed. So don't let it. Stay positive, because that's the right thing to do. It's the healthy thing to do. It's the real thing to do. And if the media wants to be crazy, let them be crazy themselves. We don't have to dance to their tune. We have our own fiddler on the roof.
Rabbi Friedman, what can you suggest for people? What kind of tools can people use? Because not everybody might be in a good place in their life, and looking around themselves might also be, lonely or something, and things that they relied on before that maybe have been taken away due to certain circumstances, and it's hard to just look around. Are there tools that are out there that we can apply to ourselves in order to find that inner strength, that inner peace, and that inner everything to keep going, be positive, and be the best that we can be in these not such easy times?
There is something. It's what we've done for thousands of years when we felt helpless. And that's the worst part of this whole confusion, that you feel helpless. You're overwhelmed by the news. What can you do about it? You're not sure whether you even should believe it or not. So you're left feeling very vulnerable, very disempowered. What we always did throughout history is we prayed. How did we pray? We read Tehillim. We read Psalms. It is magnificent. And it's particularly powerful in this kind of a situation. So in Yiddish, there was an old expression that was semi-humorous, but with a serious content. The expression was, we're not supposed to rely on miracles, we're supposed to read Tehillim. Like reading Tehillim is the most natural thing to do, unlike relying on miracles. But in our history, it's true. In our history, it's true that if you don't believe in miracles, then you're not realistic. In Jewish history, miracles are reality, because without it, we wouldn't be here. So I would suggest the following, and this is not only for worries about the global problems, but even personal problems. Read the psalm of the year you are entered into. So if you're 19, read Psalm 20. If you're 20, read 21, and so on. From a Jewish source, Jewish translation. You will be amazed at what it does for you. The first thing is, you don't feel so helpless, because you're doing something. Secondly, it'll make you feel a little more hopeful, because it always does. It always has. And number three, it will make things better. So try it for a month. You'll see a great change in your life. The psalm that represents the year you're going into, that you've entered. So if you're 19 years and 1 day, you're into the 20th year, so you say Psalm 20. Money back guarantee.
How often? Daily?
Daily.
Great advice.
Either begin your day or end your day with it.
Okay. Well, hopefully people will follow that, and hopefully that is something that will bring more light and more hope into the world. Thank you, especially individually. Thank you so much, Rabbi Friedman. Unfortunately, we're going to be running out of time very, very soon, and I definitely would like to get the weekly wisdom for you to leave us with. So it's been nothing but that throughout this last half an hour, but regardless, what would you like to say to our community in order to have us feel a little bit stronger and better about ourselves
Well, we can feel a little more healthy and comfortable in the universe if we can identify our place. So here, briefly, I want to say something like this. Adam was in the Garden of Eden. First day that he was created, God said to him, of all the trees you may eat. Why did God have to say that? Because Adam was a very decent guy. And if God hadn't said you can eat from all the fruits of the trees, he would never touch a single tree. Why? It's not his. It's not his. He was created after the trees were created. So he came into a garden already grown, and they're not his trees and they're not his fruits. So if he got hungry, what would he do? He would starve, but it would never occur to him to help himself to someone else's fruits. People need to build themselves a house. They go to the forest, chop down trees. Excuse me, whose trees are you chopping down? Who gave you permission? So here's a very important mental health consideration. How do you see yourself? They're one of two ways. I need to do what I need to do. So when I'm hungry, I'll find something to eat. If I'm homeless, I'll chop down some trees and build myself a home. That's just the natural default position. I do what I got to do. I find what I need. Until God comes along with his Bible and tells me that I can't do this and I can't do that, and I can't eat that, I can't. So, up to a point, we can tolerate it. You can be a little religious, but there comes a point where enough already. Stop interfering in my life. So even 10 commandments are a little too much. That's one option. The other option is, like Adam, not my world, not my garden, not my fruits, not my trees, not my water. Nothing in this world is mine. And therefore, I do nothing until I am given permission. So what is the Bible? The Bible comes along and gives me permission to live. All the animals belong to God. I cannot eat any of them. God says, no. The ones with the split hooves yes, you can eat that. You go through the Bible, and all it tells you is what you can do, how you may help yourself to certain things in God's garden, obviously not to everything. So instead of feeling like God is interfering in your life, it turns out that God is giving you life. It's a much happier attitude. And then if there's something you can't have, or you just don't have, and can't seem to get it, you're not upset. God is not interfering in your life. He's giving you a place to live your life and enjoy so much of what he created. Like that famous joke about the atheist who said to God, no, that's not the end of the joke. The atheist said to God, we used to need you, but now we don't need you anymore because we have technology. So God says, can you make a man out of dust like I did? They say, yes, yeah, we can. We have the technology. God says, go ahead, make a man out of dust. So he gathers together some dust into the laboratory, and God says to him, no, not my dust. Get your own dust. Big shot. So the same thing with, I need to build a house, so I'm going to chop down a tree. Well, your tree you can chop down, not mine. So how is it that we have so many rights or so much permission to help ourselves to basically what it should be forbidden because they're not ours? So all the pleasures of the world that we do enjoy, They really are forbidden things that God permits us to do. So God is not coming to forbid, God is coming to permit. If you start with that attitude, you're a happier, healthier, and more grateful human being. And that's good.
I would say that's amazing, Rabbi Friedman. Thank you so, so much. It's just, this was a splash of brightness into exactly what we need. Thank you so, so much. We missed you so much. Hopefully, we look forward to your wisdom always. It's amazing. It's a gift from above, and we are so grateful for you and for your wisdom that you give to us so unconditionally. Thank you so much.
Good to be back.
It's amazing to have you back. Thank you so much, and have an awesome, awesome week.
We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal, it's questions and answers, it's conversation. It's really relaxed, it's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us. Take a look. Click the link below and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.